Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 9, the September edition of Mike's Monthly Movies, my monthly movie vlog where I've been trying to encourage myself to watch more classic movies and just movies in general, and so I've been doing a monthly movie vlog on this channel. Thank you to everyone who's watched all of the episodes or any of the episodes before this. I have done one every month since the start of the year and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. This one is a little bit late. I've just been really flat out with work recently. And as always, I'd love for you to subscribe, check out some of my other videos. If you watch Squid Game, I just did a breakdown of the morality of Squid Game on my channel, as well as a bunch of other stuff on all kinds of pop culture. So give my channel a little bit of an exploration. I do podcasts as well. But for now, let's get into it. The first movie I watched in September 2021 was Color Out of Space. Is this weird H.P. Lovecraft inspired film that I don't know about this one. It has Nicolas Cage in it with some really zany and weird acting.
What the f*** are you talking about?
The storyline is really slow. Essentially, like, there's some weird Lovecraftian mysterious entity or force that arrives at this family's home and it's warping reality and things are really crazy. And there's one part at the end of this movie that is just so crazy what happens to the mum and the little brother of the family. I think it's just insane. Overall, I would never watch this movie again. I was bored for most of it, and yeah, I think I gave it a pretty average score on Letterboxd, and yeah, I don't have too much more to say about Color Out of Space. Next movie. Big Fish. This one was really weird for me, but this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. It's a Tim Burton flick, and this is a really beautiful movie in so many ways. It's this story about a boy whose dad is dying, and his whole life his dad has told him these really crazy stories about things that happened in his life, and he doesn't believe that any of them are true, and you kind of unravel through these stories as you go and find out more and more about the dad's real life. This was really fun. I watched this when I was very young with my mum, and I didn't really understand it, but I remembered key bits from it that kept coming back to me as I was rewatching it. I highly recommend this movie. One of the best of 2021 so far. And a really good Tim Burton movie, some great acting. The lead role is Ewan McGregor, and Danny DeVito's in it. This is a really good watch. You will feel really intense feelings at the end of this movie, but yeah, definitely check it out. My review for this movie, Cinderella, on Letterboxd was that this is, without a doubt, the worst thing I've ever seen, except for Coney 2012. And if you're old enough to remember Coney 2012, you will know how bad this movie is. And the weird thing about this is that it's a jukebox musical, and the musical arrangements of particular songs were just so woeful. Like, the arrangements were woeful, and then the performances of the singers were woeful. The acting was terrible. James Corden is in it, also terrible. And I don't know, just my mum told me that she loved this movie, and I get that because my mum would love a movie like this, but this is just some of the dumbest shit I have ever seen in my entire life. Don't watch this movie. Save yourself the trouble. It absolutely sucks. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Next. The Fly is a classic sci-fi film that I haven't seen before, but I have seen that episode of The Simpsons that is based on this. It's a Treehouse of Horror episode where Bart combines himself with a fly. And I love that episode of The Simpsons, so I figured I'd love this movie as well. And I thought this was really well made, particularly for its time. There's a lot of body horror in this movie. It's a little bit creepy and uncomfortable and just kind of gross at times when the main character starts to meld with the fly. And I think at times it's really uncomfortable to watch this guy who has combined with a fly and his descent into madness and his descent into animalistic urges and everything that he does. It's quite creepy, but it's a really enthralling movie. It's a great classic body horror sci-fi, and yeah, I would definitely put this one on your watch list if you haven't seen it. Elysium is a Sci-Fi starring Matt Damon, directed by Neil Blomkamp, more on him later, that I really enjoyed. I love these kind of high concept sci-fi films, and essentially the story behind this one is that the rich and wealthy people of the human race have left Earth and now live on like a man-made like hub called Elysium, in which there are healing chambers that can heal any wound or disease and make you well again. Down on Earth, they don't have those. And of course, the people who still live on Earth, the people who are poor and have to work every day and etc., they really want to go up to Elysium because some of them have disabilities or illnesses that they want to heal, so they would risk anything just to be able to get up to Elysium. This was really well-made science fiction. I love the concept. I love the social commentary on refugees and capitalism and rich versus poor, and how the wealthy actually put up more and more barriers for poor people to become successful or to be safe or to make money. A great film. I enjoyed this one a lot. Stardust is a fantasy film that I actually really liked. I thought this was extremely fun. The pacing was great and the performances were great. Ironically, this is based on a book by Neil Gaiman, and honestly, I've read it and I genuinely thought it was one of the worst books I have ever read in my life. I did not enjoy it at all, so when it was suggested by someone that we watch this movie, I immediately thought, I don't want to watch it because the book sucked. But I really think this movie kind of swayed from the book's very serious tone. This movie is a little bit more goofy, it's a little bit more freeing, and the characters have a bit more of an opportunity to joke around than I remember in the book. And I think it just is a great story about a bunch of characters who all end up interwoven in this same story for various reasons. And yeah, it's a journey, it's an adventure, and exactly what I feel like a fantasy movie should be. And it's a shame that fantasy movies like this you don't really see being made anymore, because it's always now like franchise films being made and franchise fantasy films, whereas a one-off book adaptation like this, I don't know if is as common now, but I really liked this. Check it out. Dead Man's Chest is the second Pirates of the Caribbean film, and for whatever reason, this month I watched 3 of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, mainly because I know I watched number 1, 2, and 3 when I was a kid, but I don't remember anything about 2 and 3, except for Davy Jones, who, by the way, is one of the greatest CGI characters ever.
Jack Sparrow.
This guy's gross. And what I realize is that a lot of the things I thought happened in Dead Man's Chest, just based on my fleeting memories of seeing these movies in cinemas back in the mid-2000s, actually happened in the third one, At World's End. And I guess that makes sense because those 2 movies were shot back to back and released a year apart from each other. Dead Man's Chest is really good, and I might as well just skip forward in the chronological order of when I watched these movies and do this movie next. So At World's End, I thought was incredible. It's a very long movie. It's nearly 3 hours, and I had to watch it in like 3 different sittings because I just get so tired watching movies that are like longer than 90 minutes. It's the attention span of the Instagram generation, guys. It's ruined me. But I just thought this was so epic. It was such a great conclusion to the original trilogy of Pirates films, and so much stuff just is going on at once. There's separate storylines. Admittedly, it would have been great if this was a TV series, like all these intertwining plot lines and the complexity of it all. But overall, At World's End was amazing, which makes me jump forward one more time to number 4 of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. On Stranger Tides and the 5th entry, which I didn't watch this month, are the 2 that I have never seen. I guess I just fell off the wagon of Pirates of the Caribbean by the 4th one. And I'm kind of glad I did, because On Stranger Tides was really boring. A lot of the original characters are no longer in it. Well, I scratched that. Mainly Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom's characters are no longer in it, which makes sense because their kind of story arc concluded at the end of the 3rd Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but now there's a bunch of new characters, one of whom is played by Penelope Cruz, who is Jack Sparrow's ex-girlfriend or something like that. And yeah, this one just really felt like they were running dry of ideas, and I didn't enjoy it very much at all. I probably will watch the 5th one at some point, but I seriously doubt I'll enjoy it if it's anything like On Stranger Tides. Okay, rewinding back to the next film. Malignant is James Wan's newest entry. I like that after making Saw, James Wan didn't keep being director of all the Saw movies, instead kind of going off and doing his own thing with movies like Insidious and The Conjuring and now Malignant. This guy is an expert in horror movie making. Both Saw and The Conjuring have become pretty successful film franchises, and James Wan was behind both of them, and Malignant, like I said, is his newest kind of horror flick. I didn't think it was terrible, and to be honest, the twist of what's happening and some of the visuals involved in what's happening, and if you see the movie, you'll get it. When the revolution of who is murdering all the people happens, it kind of just freaks you out. What you see is just so disgusting and uncouth and not normal that it really, really shocks you and kind of takes it out of your system. The last kind of act of this movie has some really cool fight scenes that are Matrix vibe, but I don't know, I wouldn't say this is anywhere near the greatest horror movie. It's a bit of fun, so I wouldn't miss it if you like horror, but not incredible. Alright, a lot of actual stinker movies this month, to be honest, and this one from Up on Poppy Hill, a Studio Ghibli film from 2011, is, quite frankly, just one of the boringest movies I've ever seen. I think earlier in this series I talked about another Ghibli film, Only Yesterday, which is also really boring, but From Up on Poppy Hill is just such a weird story. Not only is the whole thing a will they or won't they story about a guy and a girl who may or may not be brother and sister, and know that, I can't stress this enough, they know that they may be brother and sister but are hoping they're not so they can get together. It's very weird. It's also just a very boring slice of life story from Studio Ghibli, similar to Only Yesterday. I know this is going to sound controversial, but I think a lot of people who love Japanese art are always like, oh, Studio Ghibli films are so beautiful, they're all amazing, they're all incredible. And I love Japan. I'm a huge Japan nerd, but I'm sorry, not all of Studio Ghibli movies are very good. Spirited Away is incredible, and then some of the other ones are okay, but movies like this are actually just really boring. I don't think Studio Ghibli is the Pixar of Japan, as a lot of people say. And I think Spirited Away was definitely a testament to what can be done in an anime-esque animation style in a film, but I haven't seen anything incredibly impressive from Ghibli. I have seen Princess Mononoke, whatever it is. And I didn't think that was that engaging either. Spirited Away is the only one that captivated my attention the whole way through. From Up on Poppy Hill, give it a miss. It's 2 thumbs down from Mikey. Okay, there's 2 more movies to cover for this month, and Demonic is the next one. Hands down, worst film I've seen in 2021. Directed by Neil Blomkamp, who, if you remember, directed Elysium as well. And remember earlier in the video, I was like, we'll come back to him later. Directed by Neil Blomkamp, more on him later. This is that later. This is now. We're here. You made it. Well done. And I watched this because I really liked Elysium. So I was like, oh, I'll watch more Neil Blomkamp movies. A few people suggested District 9, which is apparently better than Elysium. But I saw that he did a horror, and because I like horror, I was like, okay, I'll check it out. This came out this year and was filmed low budget under the constraints of the pandemic, but man, the result of this is terrible. I don't even quite understand what the story was. I turned it off halfway through because I was so bored and then kind of stuck it out the next day. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. This is hands down one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's worse than From Up on Poppy Hill, which I just trashed on this. It was just terrible, and I don't plan on ever watching this again. I will probably watch District 9 now and try to see something good that Neil Blomkamp did, because I hated Demonic. Okay, final movie. Old. Everyone has been talking about Old, which is M. Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan?
Chameleon.
It's the guy who did the I See Dead People movies, new movie. And the concept of this is like, I don't know how I feel about this movie. Well, I do. It's not great. And like, if you don't know the concept, a bunch of people end up on a beach and they're growing older by the second. It's rapid aging them. They can't understand why. They can't get off the beach for some unknown reason. And I guess it shows how weird it would be if you were suddenly growing up really fast, particularly with the kids on the island. The twist, and M. Night whatever's movies always seem to have these big twists, right? It's all about the twist. And it started with The Sixth Sense. That's when he was like, there's a twist. You gotta have a big twist. The twist is frankly not that exciting, nor does it really... I don't know, it does make sense, but it kind of just, without spoiling it, like, the island itself is never actually explained. I guess that did spoiler it. I'm sorry, guys. But like, the island, or the beach itself is not ever explained as to why it does what it does. It just does that, and the twist kind of gives another reason for why the people ended up on the island. The beach, sorry, keep saying island. It's not an island, it's a beach. I feel like I came out of this, like, with a lot of intrigue. The story and the concept is really fascinating and you do kind of get sucked in by it, but some of the acting, I'm not joking, was absolutely terrible. And some of the cinematography and screenplay, it was just frustrating at times. Like, some of the camera decisions and everything around that, I just didn't like at all. So I would probably give Old a miss, to be honest. So those are all the movies I watched in September 2021. New episode for October will be coming in a few weeks when October is over. And I would love for you to check out January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. You know the months. Go onto my channel, they're all there in a playlist. And check out some of my other videos while you're there as well. Comment a movie you want me to watch and I will watch it next month and include it in the video. Or just comment what you thought if you've seen some of the movies I talked about in this episode. That's all from me. Again, please subscribe, comment, thumbs up, all the rest. Check out my other vids, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.
But I went to run my hand through your hair and I noticed you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time, you were attached to string.